but it's not due for release until April next year. Ian found the duo recording at the Deep Groove studio.
1 year ago, Urban Disturbance released one of New Zealand's first ever hip-hop albums, 37 Degrees Latitude. Sales were modest, but it received rave reviews from the Herald to Dolly magazine. Today they're recording their second album, and I wanted to join the recording process to see if they've learned anything new, and so I could fiddle the buttons and knobs. Look at this kid from these shores and now with this. Look at this kid from these shores and now with this. Look at this kid from these shores and now with this. When your last album came out, it was kind of a new thing, a hip-hop album in New Zealand.
Yeah.
How did you expect it to be taken?
Oh, really badly, because it came out at Christmas market. You know, it was released like on November the 20th or something, and you don't get much closer to Rod Stewart's greatest hits than that. These impressions will last, knowing that we understand hip-hop's hot mask. But we weren't expecting to do that well, obviously, because of that, and the fact that I don't think it was necessarily that digestible an album.
Nah, it was more like an album of the boys just going, woohoo, here's the boys in the studio, yeah, far out. But we didn't really think of like, oh, like what's our single going to be, you know, how are we going to sell this, what's our strategy?
How prepared were you when you went in to make the album?
Not prepared. It was like the weekend before we went in, Zane goes, oh, come around and listen to the beats, you know, so it was like, oh, okay, go to the beats.
And then he comes around, I got to take it from here. He comes down to my house and goes, man, they all suck. It's like, oh,
they just sounded quite similar. So we weren't that prepared, but this album is a bit more prepared.
Like to be locked out, but I guess I've been locked in. A crowded house full of loudmouths, fine pouts, louts, and cheesy grins.
I promise nothing. My takes usually take about 4 hours. Zane does this in like 3 takes, it might take a long blooming time.
Superfluous to the circus. I wanted this, but it's held down like warm beer from a half-full flagon. So it's a long process, you know, you got to just chop and change.
When do you write your lyrics?
What we've done this time is like, we've gone with our strengths. So, like, Zane's strength is that thing over there in his computer. Like, I'm not saying his strength is not in rhymes, but, like, what he excels at is, and what he does most is that computer, and he makes the beats, you know. He's, like, sitting there, mad professor with square eyes doing that. Like, my strength, because that's what I do all the time, is writing. I write a lot of, like, well, whatever, like, stories, poetry, whatever. And so what we've done is, like, we haven't actually written the lyrics before we've come in, but we've written the choruses, and we've had like the names and the ideas for the songs. Take it off. As the verse goes on, the paper gets more and more scribbled on, and then it gets harder and harder to read, and therefore the verse takes longer and longer to do. Sure, Ice Cube doesn't have this problem. I mean, writing the lyrics to it is sort of secondary, you know, it's just like listing a whole bunch of thoughts. But if you don't have the topic to think about, then you end up just being really random and sort of esoteric. So
at one stage we had a meeting before the album was made, and we knew that if we couldn't come up with topics and concepts beyond battling MCs and whack rhymers this time around, we wouldn't be making an album.
Because the beats set the pace and ain't the worst thing to face than a party full of peeps playing Ace of Base.
Ollie, how does your verse start?
Leaning on a wall in the early evening, closer to the early than I am to leaving.
So it goes, leaning on a wall, so that's cool, because I go, and then an Ace of Base, silence. Leaning on a wall.
Okay, so how do your lyrics differ from rock lyrics? Is there a different angle?
We get to say more.
You get to say more. Like, you get to say that I love you. You get to say, well, I found I love you, then you broke my heart, then I went and killed your boyfriend. You know, you get to tell the whole story, you know, it's not
But they go, I love you.
And then track 3 is, you broke my heart.
You produced the last album.
Yeah.
Had you had any experience before then, producing?
Well, not really.
Producing it in rap is different than producing like a rock sort of.
Yeah,
what's producing in rap then?
Programming.
Yeah, making beats.
Making beats, and then coming in here, like the last album, me and Chris Sinclair pretty much co-mixed everything. This is what I do most of my beats on. This is my little home studio setup. This is my sampler here. Then we have a sequencing unit here. There you go, hit the space bar and
Were you nervous when you recorded your first album?
Yeah, like nervous, apprehensive, just going, man, buzzing, you know, we're getting an album, you know, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, and just like, you know, trying to go 100 miles an hour.
Do a song and a mix
it's
a
like,
day.
Oh, you know, we've got such a short amount of time. We need 40 tracks to choose from in order to get the best type album.
Shook the hand of a whole crew who I barely know. None of them related, but all called bro, go figure.
You gonna do anything differently this time?
We are doing everything differently.
Yeah, it's
just
not
the attitude.
at all like 37 Degrees.
Just our attitude's different, and that like transcends through the whole project.
With each stun grenade, I watch the honesty fade. The groundwork's laid to... And again.
When's the album coming out?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Slated for 97.
Yeah.